Looking for a college that feels like home and opens doors? Welcome to St. Cloud State, where Huskies come from all walks of life to chase big dreams. From small-town Minnesota to across the globe, SDSU is a place where everyone belongs. Whether you're into esports, student orgs, or cheering at D1 hockey games, there's always something happening on campus. And the best part? It's affordable, so you can focus on your future, not your finances. Come see it for yourself. Schedule your campus tour at St. Cloud State University, the home of the Huskies. Let's go Huskies!
For the Indians, one run on, let's see, one hit. That's all. We got one goddamn hit.
You can't say goddamn on the air.
Don't worry, nobody's listening anyway.
From the Gateway Lounge in Sioux Falls, it's Nobody's Listening Anyway. Here are your hosts, John Gaskins and Matt Zimmer.
Well, you're back from the lake, back into the city of champions, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Well, we're in the state of champions, really. Just swept the Summit League and Northern Sun with the softball, Jack's baseball, Augie baseball and softball. Now the Stampede. We just had Jimmy Olander and Ryan Crothers walk through here. So if you want to hear the chat with the president and the head coach of the now four-time Clark Cup champions, we had them. And boy, did they have an awesome story to tell. So good to see you. Now we're here to talk about it all with you. The Matt Zimmer. How are you? How was the lake?
It was good. I'm tired. I spent all day today. Spent the morning working on SDSU baseball stuff. I got a bunch of stories coming out, and then because I'm leaving on Friday for that tournament to head down to Lincoln, I mowed the lawn, washed the car, did a bunch of old man lawn dad stuff, and I'm 46 years old. That kind of takes it out of me, so I'll do my best to.
You were doing that today?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I know. It kind of feels like you need some smelling salts or something.
Yeah, I'm a little.
Okay.
It was hot out. Hot day to go out and.
Yeah, I know.
Mow and trim.
Yes. I hate it when people talk about the weather, but my God, we all have to suffer together.
Well, it's funny. Arthur plays baseball games on Tuesdays and Thursdays. His game last Thursday.
Yeah.
It was like 45 degrees, and we were bundled up in our winter coats.
Yes.
His very next game was last night, and it was 90 degrees, and we were I had to leave the game to get him a second Gatorade because he was dying he was so hot and sweaty. We didn't get anything in between. We went from his last game, it was winter. Yep. His next game, it's summer.
That's the way I was going to say it. It was nice to have those 3 days of spring where it was 65 to 75, and we just jumped right into this.
At least it's finally here. I was sick of the cold.
Well, yeah, I think we all were.
I never really complained about it being hot.
Yeah, I'm not going to complain too much. And you got to hit the lake. Did you catch anything?
The lake is empty.
Oh, okay.
I didn't even see a fish.
No.
And I was talking to my neighbors and some other fishermen. They're like, yeah, nothing. Nobody's caught anything all spring. So it's just one of those years. I don't know.
Fish aren't having enough sex?
Sometimes the theory is that early in the year when the water's really, really clear, they're spookier, but I don't know. So that was part of the we ended up coming back a day early because I was like, okay, I'm going to go down to Nebraska next weekend. I got to start, getting my hotel and credentials. So I was like, fish aren't biting anyway. Let's go home. So we came home Monday night instead of Tuesday, which was our original plan.
Okay. I mean, you gave the reason. It's more of like for yourself, but Are you okay? Are you capable of enjoying the lake, the boat, in decent weather when there isn't fish to catch?
Well, when the fish aren't biting, you want the weather to be nice so you can just lay out in the boat and enjoy the weather, and it was, so it was fine.
Okay.
Usually, like if I'm the one when the weather's crappy, everyone else is sitting inside like, this sucks. I'm like, yeah, but the fish are biting, so I'm outside.
Gotcha.
Because it tends to work that way. The crappier the weather, sometimes the more the fish bite. But
yeah. Well, you mentioned Arthur's game, first game. You were at the lake. You were probably about 3 days removed from 50 degrees and wearing your hunkering down in your hoodie at the Canaries game last week, which I think we talked about. Not sure, but
they're 8-2.
Hey, they're
right?
8-2. They're in first place. They're
and that dude we were making fun of who couldn't get out of the first inning on the home opener threw a complete game gem in his next start.
Yes.
So, sorry, Garrett. I guess we gave up on you a little early.
Garrett Martin he was on fire on Sunday. The Birds needed extra innings. They couldn't protect his 3-0 lead. I think they gave it 3 in the
but then one
ninth,
extra innings.
And then it started to frickin' rain in the 10th. Of course that happened. But hey, They won the game, kind of like the Stampede. They blew the 2-goal lead with 4 minutes left. We were all getting Canaries PTSD from the American Association Championship Series last fall, and
we were following it in the press box at the high school baseball tournament that we were doing, and they had kind of a false start. Looked like they won. They called it back, and they won later. I just, if you haven't read it, Trent Singer wrote a great column today about the Stampede coming home and their run to the championship, and he included in the story Jimmy O's call.
Yes.
What a great – we talked about how good Jimmy is, and that's a tremendous call of a great moment.
I was totally agree, and I had a lot to say about that on the monologue yesterday here on Happy Hour. But we were watching it with Jimmy O's call at the Birdcage. I was in the press box with Randy Preston, the PA, who also does Stampede games. Christine also does. She's the she runs the show basically. Everything that besides the hockey and Randy's voice, everything else you see on the video board, that's Christine, and she does it for everybody in town. Skyforce, games, any game, college or pro at the Pentagon, and Canaries. And anyway, we're watching it together. We see the 2 great saves by Lenards, and then you see Macrina get the puck, and everybody's just like, go, like, do it, like, end it right here. And by God, he does.
He was incredible all season, really, but in the playoffs, you kind of knew when the puck was on his stick in that moment, like, this is it.
Shortest but clearly fastest guy.
Perfect way to end it,
It's like that old ice hockey game on Nintendo. There was always a little short dude. There's like a tall, slender. Do you remember the ice hockey game on Nintendo? It was just called
ice hockey. I know the game. I never played it.
Oh, okay. You only had, it was 4-on-4, and you get to choose. You get to choose each team. Like, do you want 4 big, huge powder keg guys? Do you want 4 Slim Jims or 1 short, small fry?
Theo Fleury.
Yeah, and you kind of have your combination of what kind of a team you wanted. Macrina's, of course, the little small fry, but yeah. So we were going nuts and listening to Jimmy's call, and then I just saw the tweet of it, and I was like, my God, he just nailed it. That was so perfect. And of course, he's been there for 20 years, and so it's genuine enthusiasm you can't get from anyone besides somebody who's been doing it for 20 years. But we talked about all that, how that was a fitting end to the game and the season in our discussion with Ryan and Jimmy. But hey, and then there was that was the same day South Dakota State's baseball team is improbably winning the Summit League tournament. Those were just a few hours away from each other. It feels like USD softball all over again.
Very much so.
You have a losing team, a team with a losing record that kind of caught fire, or at least warmed up toward the end of the regular season. The Yotes had won 10 of 15 going into the NCAA tournament. And the Jacks baseball had won 9 of 12 before they lost 3 in Omaha the week before the Summit League tournament. And then here they are. They roll through it. They take down the number 1 seed. Each of them took down the number 1 seed twice in the tournament, including the championship. And they both roll into the NCAA tournament with the worst record, or one of the worst records in the field, and a 10th-year head coach that won his first title that everybody feels pretty happy for.
Yeah, it's nice to feel some buzz around South Dakota State baseball, because obviously college baseball isn't as big in this part of the country as it is in other places, mostly because of the season, the weather. There's just not that many home games, and it's cold, and by the time it warms up here, the season's over. So people have never been really invested in it. But having said that, we've talked a lot in the last few years about how Augustana has kind of become a baseball, softball school with the success they've had. And, SDSU's fan base is obviously pretty rabid. We know football, basketball, but you see how they've responded to wrestling and volleyball in the last few years. They're drawing huge crowds for volleyball now. When Chris Bono came in and got wrestling going, they started selling out Frost for wrestling duels. And I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case in baseball, but I do feel like there's been sort of a thirst for, like, hey, come on, we want this program to be relevant. I don't think Justin Sell was ever entertaining the idea of getting rid of baseball when, a lot of schools have been. I think it's just been like, hey, we need to get this going. All of our other teams are winning. All of our other teams are going to the NCAA tournament. And baseball wasn't getting – and it's not like they sucked. They weren't the doormats of the Summit League every year. Every few years they get into the conference championship game. They just never win it. And a big reason is Oral Roberts is this – this giant in the league. You mentioned it on your show yesterday. They're to the baseball what SDSU's women are to women's basketball.
Actually, it was
in the summer
Rob
league.
that brought that up.
Okay, yeah,
Rob
but
Bishop.
it's a perfectly apt comparison.
22 out of 27.
Yeah.
22 out of 27.
And they made the
Summer
College
League
World Series 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a legit program.
Yeah.
And so I really feel like, not that they're like a sleeping giant or whatever, but again, that there was an appetite for this. There was people out there like, we want this team to be good, and when they won, my phone started blowing up from people I know that are into baseball, and I'm actually working on a story right now talking to a bunch of the guys from the 2013 team. That was the first SDSU team. And I haven't talked to these guys in 10 years, And I reached out to them, and it was like we were, drinking buddies that have just hadn't talked to each other in a couple weeks. I was like, Zim, what's up? Yeah, baseball. Yeah, let's talk. Yeah, Jax, all right. And every one of them that I talked to admitted, like, yeah, I haven't been living and dying with Jax baseball over the years, but I follow them, and I've just been kind of like, hey, I really wish they'd make a run, wish they'd get in the tournament. And now that they're here, all these Jax alums, all these Jax fans, all these baseball fans are like, yeah, I'm all about it. Let's, there's, and the great thing is they're playing Nebraska, 3 hours away. So everyone can go.
Yeah.
I talked to a bunch of guys like, you bet I'm going. I'm bringing my kids. We're going down there. We're getting hotel rooms. We're making a thing out of it. So, that's kind of the beauty of college sports, when you're an alumni and your team does something and you've been waiting for it. And plus I know how much, I caught part of your interview with Rob, and I talked to Rob a couple times, and Rob's a good coach and he's a good dude. So I think he knows better than to make it about himself. But I'll say, this is a big deal for Rob Bishop. He's been there for 10 years, and he hasn't been able to do this, and he's been trying, and he's been banging his head against the wall trying to make this thing work, and every time they get close, one of their best players transfers to a bigger place, or, they get a season-ending injury to one of their best players. I mean, he's been knocking on the door, and I'm sure there were times where he wondered, is this ever going to happen?
Sure.
And I've heard from Jax fans that have been like, geez, maybe it's time for a change, this isn't working, and to see them finally do it, and do it the way they did it, as an underdog, and to beat Oral Roberts. The team that made it in 2013, Oral Roberts was in the Southland that year. The Jacks had to, I don't want to take anything away from them,
Sure.
but they beat Western Illinois and North Dakota State to get to the NCAA
Kind of like
tournament.
eliminating North Dakota State from the Valley.
Yeah, this team had to beat Oral Roberts twice, and Oral Roberts destroyed them during the regular season. They were 0-19 against Oral Roberts in the Summit League tournament before this. So you can't overstate what a big deal this is, how excited people in Brookings are about this, how excited the local baseball community is about this, and I'm really happy for them. I'm really happy for all those players. I'm really happy for Rob Bishop. I'm happy for Billy McMacken, for Chuck Sendelbach, for all the old-timers that have stuck with this program and how much it means to them. This is a big moment for them, and I hope to see a lot of them in Lincoln on Friday.
They woke up the echoes. I mean, to your point, he's only had really one. I'm just looking purely at Summit League record because he explained yesterday that they play their first 20, 25, 30 games on the road, and they often beef up their schedule and play. They go to Nebraska, they go to Oklahoma State. USD softball, same thing that Robert Wagner was telling us a couple weeks ago. So the record's never going to be that good in non-conference, and really, it's not great in men's basketball sometimes either.
Right.
Same concept. So overall record, you kind of have to dismiss. You look at Summit League record, and he's dead 500 in his 10 years against the Summit League, and you're in a league with now Oral Roberts, the 800-pound gorilla. But he also mentioned there's a difference between the winners here and the winners in Omaha. Like they get a few more days a year of warm enough baseball, and they've got sparkling facilities, and they were the number 2 seed. It makes Northern Colorado, you think of the Rockies, and that's just on the cusp of the range, and Greeley near Denver, you think snow and skiing. No, their winters are milder than they are here. They don't get sleet and bullshit like that. The snow melts pretty easily. They get a lot of 45-degree days in January and February. So that's the lay of the land. You have those 3 teams that kind of have the weather advantage and should get the better players. And then NDSU, SDSU, and St. Thomas are all kind of in the same boat. You would think St. Thomas maybe in baseball has an advantage because there's more talent to choose from in a bigger market, but whatever. And so... I mean, you've mentioned he's just kind of in the last few years, 13-9, 13-11, 11-17, 13-15, 12-15, just kind of just kind of languishing there. So this was literally a breakout at just the right time. But he said, and you've kind of alluded to it, we're the team that cashed it in. We've had some other teams that were good, just didn't. But we had to face Oral Roberts twice on that championship Saturday, and that's really hard to beat that program twice. This time they only need to beat them once.
The key was Sam Schleck throwing a gem in the first game of the tournament and beating Oral Roberts. As soon as they did that, I thought, well, they have a shot. Because in a weird way, getting the 4 seed, I don't want to say it's a benefit necessarily, but it does set it up where if you can steal that first one against Oral Roberts, then you not only are 1-0 and in the winner's bracket, but you already played the beast. You already got them out of the way.
Yeah.
So either someone can knock them off for you so you don't have to play them again, or if they manage to fight their way back, they have to beat you twice. And let's not kid ourselves. When they did get back to Saturday, we all thought it's not impossible that Oral Roberts will beat them twice because they're deeper. They're just better. They're a better team. But however they did it, SDSU's pitching staff had like a 7.40 ERA coming into the tournament, and they went 3.0 in the tournament. Schleck throws a gem in game 1. Ty Madison, Drew McDowell, Ty Madison, he's sort of their closer. He's sort of their, I don't even know what you call him necessarily, but they were just going to ride him as much as they could in the tournament, and he was the MVP of the tournament. They pitched well, I don't care if they didn't pitch great all season. They did in that tournament, and here they are. And that's we talk about this all the time. That's the beauty of we talk about all the disadvantages of mid-major sports, and there's obviously a ton of them, and we're going to see them now when they go down to Lincoln and play against 3 top 25 blue bloods. But all you have to do is get hot for a weekend and spring an upset, and there you are.
This is a case, Rob said, of the youngest team out of 6, only 6 in the league. And so
their whole lineup is freshmen and sophomores.
It's a case of you don't know what you don't know, or or you think it probably is, which can help the psychology. You kind of got nothing to lose, which should only serve them well as they go down there. Now, what they run into on Friday at 3:00 is, if you're hosting a regional, you're one of the top 16 teams in the country. You're pretty effing good. Nebraska is number 13 out of 16. They're 23-1 at home. 23-1, and they were perfect in the Big Ten, which is not a behemoth baseball league, but it does have Oregon, UCLA, USC. All those teams should be better than the others. Their only loss, though, is against Kansas, amazingly, at home. So they were perfect in the Big Ten, and they're going to have 7,500, 8,000 fans there. You're going to love it. I don't know if you've ever been down there for a game. Have you?
Yeah.
Okay. When?
So about 15 years ago, I was down in Lincoln in April covering the USHL playoffs. Stampede were playing the Lincoln Stars, and the game, the hockey games are all at night.
Yeah.
And so the Stampede played on Friday night. I covered that game, and then they're going to play again on Saturday night.
Yeah.
Well, Saturday afternoon, the Huskers were hosting Texas at Haymarket Park at like noon.
Yeah.
I'm sitting around all day waiting for the Stampede game. I was like, oh, hey, I'll walk down to Haymarket, watch the Huskers play. And it was funny, I have a whole day to kill. I'm by myself. And so I was like, I'll get there 2 hours early and watch batting practice and just hang out.
As you do.
I'm a baseball dork.
Yes.
And so I buy a GA ticket and just sit down right in front of the dugout to watch BP and watch them take infield. And I'm just thinking, it's April, conference play hasn't started, it's cold, nobody's going to show up. I can probably just sit here for the game, And pretty soon an hour goes by and people are starting to file in. More time goes by, people are starting to file in. I look around and I'm like, holy shit, they're going to sell this, or I don't know, sell it out, but it's going to be full.
Yeah.
I had to go sit in the seat that I bought the ticket for $5 up in the right field corner because Longhorns, and Longhorns were SEC at the I guess Big 12, at the time. So it would have been probably a conference game because I think Nebraska was still in the Big 12 at the time.
That's kind of a rivalry.
Right. So maybe in hindsight I was dumb to think that, but I just was like, wow, I can't believe freezing cold April day that they were full for a Nebraska-Texas game. It was a blast, and it's a nice park. Yeah. I've been there once to see the Canaries play Lincoln. It's a nice park. That Haymarket district is cool.
Yeah.
I'm actually really excited to go down. I can't wait.
If I have a pro tip, for Jacks fans who haven't been down there, going to the games, Haymarket Park is next to the Haymarket district, but there's a bridge that separates them. It's not right there. So if you do want to tailgate at bars, there's great ones in the Haymarket. You could go on O Street, but why? tons of bars in the Haymarket. They got the big cube. It's officially called the like Union Bank Cube, but everybody calls it the Rail Yard. And they'll have some giant big screen TV. They'll probably have baseball games on, and it's a great outdoor hang. And so either go downtown a couple hours, 3 hours before the game if you want to drink at bars, and then park your car down there and walk across the bridge. Or you can beat all the parking to Haymarket Park. It's going to be full within a half hour before the game. Yeah. And you can tailgate in the lot. But either way, there's a bridge between the park and the rail yard, and you're going to have a blast. And it is a great. It was built kind of as a mini Camden Yards type of.
What's the capacity? Like 10?
It's with the berms. It's close to 10. I don't know if they've ever had 10 there. I mean, even when they've had super regionals a couple times, there's a lot of berm space. But I think
Nebraska baseball's been great for the last 20 years.
They have.
Yeah, they have.
8,500.
Made the College World Series in 2005. They've been to the tournament several times. This is their third year in a row in the tournament.
Yeah, they've gotten better.
It dropped off a couple years after the World Series, and that's when they made the coaching change. But,
yes.
they've been pretty good under Will Bolt.
Darren Erstad was the manager for 8 years, a former big leaguer with the Angels, and they were okay under him. They just haven't been. They were spectacular for my last couple of years of college when they went to the World Series, and then they went to a third one with Alex Gordon, eventual Kansas City Royal, Jabba Chamberlain. Yeah. 2005, that was their best team. They beat Miami in a super regional in Lincoln. They haven't gotten back to that in 20 years. This is as close as they've been. I don't think they're as good as that, but they should get out of this weekend. They should be the favorites.
It's an awesome pot.
Oh my God,
Arizona State.
Yeah, hey, yeah.
Arizona State's got Landon Hairston, might win the Golden Spikes Award. Okay. I mean, I can't wait to watch him. But I'm gonna stick around just to watch that game.
Wow.
Nice. Yeah, it couldn't be a better draw for SDSU, at least as far as from the fan standpoint. Because you can go. Yes. It's only a 3.5 hour drive, 4 from Brookings, whatever. So people may make that drive. And the Jacks are the only mid-major there. It's not like it's them and, American or something. It's Nebraska, Ole Miss, and Arizona State. I mean, that's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and somebody tweeted about the uniforms are all sensational.
Yeah, they are.
Nebraska's probably the fourth best uniform.
The Jacks have never played Arizona State or Ole Miss.
Wow.
So one of them, they'll get to play for the first time ever.
We'll see if the Jacks sport the powder blues, because those are it feels like everybody's favorites, right?
Their black ones are pretty sharp, too. Okay. I like those, too. And their white ones. Jacks baseball uniforms have always been great.
Yeah. There's the corner bar there. Back to the tips of the drinking and the eating. The corner bar is right there across the street from Pinnacle Bank Arena, which is right across the street from the rail yard and right across the bridge from the park. Corner bar is a great spot. A friend of mine's brother-in-law owns it, and it's very spacious. And right there on the rail yard, it's probably where you can get your drinks to drink in the rail yard. Lead Belly. Go eat at a place called Lead Belly. It's right there in the Haymarket. It's a great low-key ambiance, and for good evening drinking down there. If you like a little classy lounge that reminds you, like, you think you're Frank Sinatra and Sammy Davis Jr., it's called the Starlight Lounge. Downstairs, they make all kinds of great. Their specials are martinis, and they have a million of them. Something different that you don't get in Brookings or Sioux Falls. The Starlight Lounge. Otherwise, there's bars all over the place. Sports bars, can't go wrong. So enjoy. I wanted to go. I can't because of the Canaries this weekend. So I'm a little jealous of you. Enjoy your time. So Zim will have the coverage of that at SiouxFallsLive.com.
I think Trent's going to go, just like getting tickets, going as a fan.
Really?
Yep. My dad and his wife are going. They got tickets. It's funny, my dad didn't even know.
I've got FOMO.
Yeah, my dad didn't even know that the Jacks had won, and so I'm up at the lake, and on Monday morning they had the selection show.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, I need the TV for a minute. And he's like, what? I was like, the NCAA selection show. He's like, oh, all right. Yeah. So we watch it, and Nebraska, Lincoln, and he's like, wait, they're going to play in Lincoln on Friday? And I go, yeah. He goes, think I'd be able to get tickets for that? And I said, yeah, if you try.
Maybe.
And so they got online yesterday right when they went on sale, and yeah, so they're going.
Where are you staying?
Downtown, walking distance from the park.
Okay, good. Yes, yeah. That's what you got to do. Yeah. Good for you. Yeah. Hopcat. Go to Hopcat. That's another place. It's called Hopcat. If you want to go to the College Bars Strip on O Street, music venues, there's Zoo Bar and Duffy's. Great old music venue, good old-fashioned bars. if you want to see some live music later at night, they'll have them. All right, I guess I'll clear this out of the way. You mentioned you were at state baseball. How was that? You called a little baseball. You called a state championship for us here at Midwest Sports Plus. You did the Class A's in Sioux Falls before you took off for the lake.
Yep, it was fun. Zach Borg did a great job on play-by-play. I know Zach hasn't had too many opportunities to do play-by-play until we brought him on board, and he's enjoying it, and I think he does a really good job.
He clearly enjoys it.
Yep. And Brian Stabner came on too, so we did a 3-man booth, which I was a little like, you sure about that?
Yeah.
Like, is that maybe too many cooks in the kitchen? And especially since me and Brian are amateurs, it's not like we've ever really done it before. I see professional 3-man booths where it's like, oh my God, this is a nightmare. These guys won't shut up and everyone's talking over each other.
Yeah.
So I was a little nervous that it might not work, but I thought it went great. Zach did most of the talking, as he tends to do. But no, it was fun, and the baseball was pretty good. And congratulations to Brandon, first time back-to-back champs. Felt bad for Watertown. They were one strike away from what would have been their first championship in 95 years.
I was pretty that particular championship Saturday. I was golfing in the afternoon, then Canaries game at night. But I did see a few tweets. Am I not wrong that one of the games, and there were two semis and a championship, that you kind of were anticipating what was about to happen, and it happened? He like this. He kind of wants to hit it over to this part of the fields to drive the runner home.
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe. I don't remember.
Okay, it's just what you do. Brandon Valley repeats. Didn't they? And Watertown came out as the number 8 seed, guns a-blazing.
And yeah, they beat Harrisburg, the number 1 seed.
Sounded like there were some exciting games.
And then they knocked out Yankton, and then they should have beat Brandon.
Yeah. Madison won the Class Bs over the past couple of days, Monday and Tuesday. How much better is the baseball, like high school wise, around here than? Or actually, better way to ask, how is the baseball?
It's good. It's better. Everything's better than it was. There's kids that throw 92 miles an hour now. When I was playing high school baseball, guys that threw 82 miles an hour were considered, like, holy cow, this guy throws gas. It's just kind of the same about, how we talk about how Division I football has transcended everything here, and basketball is better. I grew up in Sioux Falls in the 90s, and when I was leaving high school in the mid to late 90s was right when it was just starting to kind of like, hey, let's try to get more serious about this. Like, let's try to take it up a notch. We were still a couple years away from SDSU going Division I, but my senior year was when which would have been 97, 98, you started seeing schools and like Avera and Sanford was Sioux Valley at the time, offering like circuit training classes and strength training, and you started seeing like summer baseball camps, and like there used to be nothing like that. Like you just played your Legion baseball season in the summer. You played high school football. Maybe you went to a John Stiegelmeier camp in the summer in up in Brookings or whatever Augie football camp that they were having, but it was pretty basic shit, and I think people just kind of started realizing, like, we're not really good at anything because we're not really putting up too much of the work into it. And all of a sudden, now I could go off on a whole other tangent that maybe it's probably gone too far in the other direction, that now every parent is being told that they have to spend 6 figures on their kids to give them the equipment and give them the personal trainers and the personal coaches and the traveling team and the other traveling team and the weight training.
To interject, Rob Bishop interestingly said a lot of the guys they recruit are quarterbacks on the football team and point guards on the basketball team, and they haven't really blossomed in baseball yet, which I found interesting. Maybe that's because they don't usually get the best from around here, but anyway.
There's a lot of South Dakota kids on that team, and there have been, and they're better teams. But long story short, yes, baseball, just like football and basketball in the Sioux Empire area, has taken huge strides in the last few years.
And that can partly explain how the Canaries get more local talent.
Absolutely.
Not so much this year, although there's a kid from Brandon on the team, and Josh Raywalt, one of the best sluggers in their league, played at the University of Sioux Falls. He's from the Twin Cities area, but Augie, banging it up the last 10 years.
When the Canaries first,
Tim Huber's had a lot more to choose from.
I'm sure now that their season's over, a couple of those guys will be on the Canaries roster before you know it.
USF is improving, and I know they don't get all their kids from Sioux Falls. A lot of these schools go up to, they dip into Iowa and Minnesota, but there's just more to choose from for all of them. Yes.
I remember
In South Dakota.
Canaries, or a couple Augie dudes trying out for the Canaries in the 90s. And, no. I remember one guy, can't remember his name, but he was like an ace pitcher for Augie in the NCC days. And he was going to try out for the Canaries. And it was like a headline in the Argus Leader, like, Canaries giving a tryout to Augie pitcher. And he lasted like 2 outings. He went out for the Canaries and just got absolutely rocked.
Oh.
Now, part of that is Division II baseball wasn't as good then as it is now, I don't think. Because, again, you go to an Augie game now, and their starters are all throwing 92, 93. But also, in fairness, the Canaries, like the Northern League it was at the time, was one of the only independent leagues out there.
Yeah.
You had Darryl Strawberry and Jack Morris and Leon Durham and Pedro Guerrero. So everything was a little bit different back then. But, we've talked about it many, many times on this show, like how far sports in South Dakota has come in the last 25 years, whether it's from SDSU going Division I, the high school programs taking it up several notches, youth programs, all of it. It's been a continuous move up,
Yeah, and everything. By the way, maybe the Canaries will add a player or two from Augie now that their season is over. They got swept in Central Missouri in their bid to go to
They might have to wait till after the draft, because if guys think they might get drafted, they're not going to want to go pitch for the Canaries and
when is the draft?
risk an injury. It's usually in June, I think.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
But there's only, 20 rounds in the draft now? There used to be like 60. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Ever since COVID. It's another thing that COVID ruined, the MLB
Yay.
draft. Yeah. July 11th?
Thank you. July 11th,
wow.
says Cordell. Meanwhile, since we last chatted, Gretta Melsted took the job at Minnesota. And like, that's one of those things like, wow, that's a big deal, Augie to Minnesota. But I think all of us around here kind of nodded our heads like, yeah, that makes sense. They hired a good one. They should be thrilled to have her, not the other way around,
Yeah.
But I don't know. What was your reaction?
It caught me off guard.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think she's undeserving. I don't think it's a reach.
Yeah.
They just generally don't do that, you know? I mean, we talked about USD should go after Gretta. Why didn't SDSU go after Gretta? And all of a sudden, straight to the Big Ten?
Yeah.
From Division II to the Big Ten?
Yeah.
I mean, holy cow, that is a big deal. I mean, awesome for Gretta. She's from Minnesota,
right,
so that probably helps. But we talked about it a couple times. You can't really understate what she did there. They were a middling program when she got there. In short order, she made them national contenders. And much like Tim Huber, just being a tournament contender is good enough. No one expects you to win national championships when you're playing in South Dakota.
Yeah,
and
it's one thing to dominate a region where everybody's in the same boat with the weather.
Right, exactly. So to win a national championship, which she did, and then even this year, they have the worst season they've had in 15 years, and they get their shit together and win the tournament and go back to the Nationals again. I mean, I just am really happy for her. I think that's a huge feather in the cap for Augustana, for the NSIC, for Division II. And I really, really hope she's successful.
No idea who the other candidates were. She replaces a coach that went about 500 and we're 16-36 this past year. And she was the replacement for a coach who's still the coach at Ole Miss. So Minnesota, the two coaches
because that O'Gorman kid was playing at Ole Miss. That's right, yeah.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
The two coaches before this coach that Gretta's replacing, they moved on. I think they both moved on to even bigger and better jobs, but they had that program rolling, and things kind of slowed to a crawl with this one, and so they were making the change, and they're hoping Gretta can rev up the engines again. And of course, we're biased. We believe she can. She knows the area well, obviously, recruiting-wise, and has a very big name, decent name, and reputation in the radius that spans from Sioux Falls to the Twin Cities. Just a guess. I think it's a pretty safe guess. I think she's taking Kelsey Thompson, who I believe is her sister. We're related.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But
Kelsey was the head coach at USF for a while, star softball player, and she's been with Gretta for several years. If she is going with her, that's what
Trent sensed, and Trent has good connections at Augustana, so that's the word, because that would have been the first person I think a lot of Augie people would think of, like, hey, she should take over for Gretta. But
I'm sure
you're
she'd
right.
make more as an assistant at Minnesota than she would as the head coach at Augie.
But one of the first, we talked about Gretta recently after winning this title, and we've mentioned, and I went back and listened to the interview that I did with her last year about her path. And yeah, she said, yes, I've been offered some bigger jobs, higher levels here and there. We think at least once at South Dakota State, maybe even USD. But she didn't say it, but for obvious reasons. Why? I mean, Augustana's probably a better job than those two in some ways. You're living in Sioux Falls, better community or bigger city. And you
in those sports, the money just isn't enough.
Yeah, we talked about this with USD. Like, it's just not, the money's not a big difference. So, and what Trent mentioned, that Greta also mentioned when I talked to her, her son's a junior hockey player. He's a really good hockey player, and he's going to get some bigger hockey chances in the state of Minnesota too. But now it now makes sense why Greta was turning down some of those, we're guessing, mid-major Division I jobs, because there's probably very few jobs she would leave Augustana for. This would be one.
Yeah.
This would be the job. So thumbs up and congrats to Greta. I mean, and then we haven't really dove into the Stampede. Again, Trent wrote a great article. Okay, so what's going on that you're laughing at over here? No, it's okay.
This guy just got hit in the face trying to catch a fly ball.
We're watching the Diamondbacks and Giants here on a Wednesday afternoon at Gateway. That's what's great about baseball is, usually
this guy lost a fly ball in the sun, and I think it hit him right in the face.
Well, he's not walking off the field or anything, so that's good.
Yeah. Anyway.
Is that Luis Arraez up at the plate? Okay.
He's hitting .322. Good
wow.
for him. I still don't miss him.
Anyway,
Stampede, you were saying.
Singer wrote a great column, and again, I encourage people to stick around if you're watching the full show at SiouxFallsLive.com, listening to the full show wherever you're getting your podcasts, that, they've been telling their story throughout the playoffs and certainly after they won, but I don't know, here with Jim and Ryan together, it was great to kind of, find out how they put this all together, starting with the hiring of Ryan a couple of years ago as the head coach, but then just all the twists and turns they went through just on this playoff run. What did you get out of it? I mean, you've been here in Sioux Falls for all 4 of their Clark Cups, and they all have their own life, especially when they're kind of spread out like all of them were.
I just thought it was really cool how big the crowds were. Because when I covered the Stampede back in the day, you'd have these great crowds throughout the regular season, and then the playoffs would come around, and it's like, okay, season tickets are expired or whatever. We're in the arena, Sioux Falls Arena.
Not a great hockey venue.
And and it was funny, like whether it was Kevin Hartzell or Gary Weckworth or Jimmy, they would always kind of say, well, yeah, the crowds are smaller, but it's the best crowds because these are the people that are here because they care about the actual hockey. They're not here for a night out on the town or whatever. They're here to watch playoff hockey, to root for us to win. And that wasn't complete bullshit. I mean, it was like, they were the most engaged crowds. Yeah. But it was often 1,100 people, Yeah, they were loud and they were engaged, but it was a small crowd. And now all of a sudden, they're in the Premier Center, which is obviously a much better venue than the Sioux Falls Arena was. Those tickets aren't cheap, man. And they just got done playing 60 games during the regular season, and they're getting 6,000-7,000 for these playoff games. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And it's a cool thing for the city. Sioux Falls. I'll never buy the idea that Sioux Falls is a hockey town now. No, it's not. Most people in Sioux Falls don't care about hockey, but there's a big cult or clique or whatever of people who are heavily involved in hockey. Youth hockey, Stampede hockey, Augie hockey now is tapping into that, and that's a big thing. And Augie hockey has been as successful as anyone could have hoped it would be.
Right.
Stampede have been here for 30-some years now, won 4 championships. They've sent dudes to the NHL. We know all that, but now there's local guys going on to play D1 hockey. Guys that are playing that Walker Dewars in the NHL. He came from Sioux Falls. Zeb Knutson was the first one who came out of the Sioux Falls Flyers and played for the Stampede and went to Mankato and almost made the NHL. I mean, it was unheard of 30 years ago to think that a hockey player from Sioux Falls could even make it to college hockey, let alone pros. So that's really been a positive, and I'm just really happy that they won and continue to value what the Stampede bring to the South Dakota sports scene.
Well, this kid from Pierre who was playing for the Muskegon Lumberjacks.
Isn't he an UND recruit, I think, or somebody?
Sorry, and he's in the Pens, drafted by the Pens organization. So really good player. I I'm sure you know this because of Trent's story. They had they had a celebration at the Birdcage, and Ryan Carruthers just wanted a parade. He started promising his players a parade if they won it all, and he kind of then had to beg for forgiveness instead of asking for permission from the owners and Jimmy, like, find a way for us to do a parade. So I guess some fans lined up outside of the ballpark on West Avenue. And there were fire trucks and whatever vehicles were carrying the guys on the team, and they cheered them in, and then they did a whole, little ceremony in the Birdcage and autographs and all that stuff. So, which I don't know if I've ever. Would you know of teams that have ever done that? Something like that?
When the Skyforce won their first title in 95 or whatever, 95, 96, when they arrived back from Florida, I don't remember who they were playing, but they get back to the Sioux Falls airport, and there are a bunch of fans waiting for them at the airport. And that wasn't like a planned, the Skyforce didn't organize that. A bunch of fans just showed up on their own. And I remember Mo McCone, who was the Skyforce coach at the time, because Sioux Falls was nuts about the Skyforce back then. Like, to the degree that people are like SDSU football right now. Like, that's how big of a deal the Skyforce were for that little moment in time. Yep. And I remember Mo McCone telling me multiple times, I'm sure he's told Stu was the Skyforce beat writer at the time for the Argus Leader, that, we always knew that we were lucky and that we had more fans than most CBA basketball teams do, and that it was kind of a weird, unique thing. But when we showed up at the airport, or maybe there was a reception at the Western Mall, something, I don't remember what it was, but whatever it was, Mo was just like, what planet are we on? Love another one. Like that hundreds of people are showing up to welcome a CBA basketball team for winning this championship.
Did he think it was really cool, or was he kind of like, what's going
I mean, mostly pretty cool. Mostly pretty cool.
With you people. Okay.
There was you know who Tim Legler is? He's now known as an analyst. This is how creepy it was. Or not creepy. Psycho kind of was with the Skyforce. Legler played for the Omaha Racers, who were the Skyforce's big rival. And Legler was probably the best player in the CBA. He ended up having an NBA career, but he had to toil in the CBA for about 4 or 5 years.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah, and he was really, really good. Thank you. And he was
with Omaha.
Yes.
Okay.
So I just said he's Omaha Racers.
Yeah.
He was their star player.
Yeah, I remember seeing him.
They were the Skyforce big rival.
Yeah.
And Stu interviewed him after a big game. I don't know if it was a playoff game or whatever. But he asked Legler, and this is before Legler became a famous analyst. He was just a CBA dude. He asked him about the crowd in Sioux Falls and how they impact the game. And Legler was like, yeah, it's pretty amazing, but it's almost like, get a life, you losers. It's the CBA. Like, what kind of people come out and fill out an arena to watch CBA basketball? And so Stu ran that in his article. And the next time Omaha came to play at the arena, the Skyforce fans, I don't know if the Skyforce printed them out or whatever, but all the Skyforce fans held up these handheld signs that said "Got a life?" ? Oh
wow!
Like they were and I remember thinking, like, you're just proving his point. Like that's really pathetic.
Yes.
But they were all into it, and it was just a whole thing. Like it was, and then a few years later, Legler went to the NBA and went on. Now he's a famous analyst.
What you're reminding me of is there was a Saturday Night Live mid-'80s William Shatner host. Yeah. Okay, you know what I mean? Yes. Yeah. Where he's
get a life, you people.
It's a Saturday Night Live skit where he's at one of these Star Trek conventions, and you got like Dana Carvey and John Lovitz. They are dressed as these big Star Trek nerds, like dressed as the Trekkies, and they're just like, what was the combination on the lockbox in season 7, episode 2? I mean, this big debate was it. And after about 3 of those types of questions, William Shatner just kind of turns on a dime, being nice and jovial to, what is wrong with you people? This was a TV show. This was pretend. Make believe. You, sir, have you ever kissed a girl? Do you? No, I'll ask you another time. It was the Stampede winning and having a run, and it would be, and you having seen their titles, would be a gratuitous story for me to ask you a certain funny story you've told me a few times about, not a confrontation, but a little back and forth you had with one of the players in the locker room once.
But we don't need to bring that up.
Okay. That's too bad because it's really good. It's really funny. By the way, some news coming down the pike here before we take off. North Dakota State's football team We learn of a lot of televised college football games. Today was like a big schedule television release day. 10 NDSU games will be on national television this fall between Fox, CBS, CW Network. Possibility of a couple games to be televised by a local station, but anyway, yeah, you could go to our friends at inforum.com. I don't want to go through it, but I'm bringing it up just because it's like we're all living vicariously in a world that some Jackrabbit and Coyote fans would like to live in someday, potentially in FBS. Some do, some don't. But I think everybody's watching with a keen eye every little checkpoint that NDSU goes through, and that's one of them today where we realize you get to be on national TV a lot more often. Is it random national TV? Yes, but it still is more than we get around here. You know, we treat every ESPN Plus or ESPNU, especially an ESPN2 game, like a big deal. So what do you think of this?
Good for them.
Okay. Are you going to be watching?
When I'm, if it's on and I'm not at another game, yeah. I'll definitely be very interested in what's going on with NDSU. I will, whether I'm able to watch the games live, I will definitely be following them closely. I mean, I'll be reading all of Jeff and Mike's stuff, you know, and I'm rooting for him. I really am. I think Tim Polasek's a great guy. Chris Kleiman was a great guy.
Yes.
Every interaction I've ever had in the Fargo Dome with their football program, with their basketball program, with their baseball program, I'm an NDSU fan in so much as, you know, I can be.
Clip and save that.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
No, I'm rooting for him.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess that's about it. Knicks, NBA Finals. Does that make you more interested because the Knicks are in it?
I wouldn't say it makes me more interested, but I was happy to see they won. The Knicks have never really been good in my lifetime, you know, other than a couple here and there.
The Patrick Ewing teams that just couldn't take down the Bulls.
I was just going to say, when I was the height of my NBA fandom was in the 90s when I was a teenager.
Yep.
And I was a huge Patrick Ewing fan. And that year that John Starks kind of became Ewing's wingman and they kind of went at the Bulls. And
Charles Oakley, the enforcer.
Yep. I really, for Patrick Ewing's sake, wanted to see them get past the Bulls and at least make a finals. And they did
after Jordan retired.
Yep. And they never won a championship. And that always kind of, I know, I just always like, it'd kind of be nice to see the Knicks win. Like, it's funny now, the Yankees won so many titles and people hate them, whatever. When the Yankees won the title in 95, that was their first World Series championship of my lifetime. And I was rooting for them because I was like, this is the story, you know, Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle. I've never seen the Yankees win a championship. I kind of want to see that. So in 95, I was kind of rooting for the Yankees. Now, after they won 7 more in the next 10 years, I was sick of it. But, you know, it's kind of the same thing here. And plus, Cat plays for the Knicks. Yeah. And, you know, I was a big Cat fan when he was on the Wolves. So I'm glad they made it. I'm kind of hoping San Antonio beats Oklahoma City. And then I'll probably be rooting for I would probably root for the Knicks to win going out.
Well, the Spurs will have to win games 6 and 7 for that to happen. Becky Hammond, by the way, who's assistant for the Spurs, of course, the head coach of the Las Vegas Aces, which used to be San Antonio.
Wait, what's the West Series?
I think OKC's leading 3-2. Yeah.
OK leads 3-2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. They won last night. So, by the way, to be honest, I was going to bring this up. I haven't been as nearly interested. My interest has waned since the Wolves were eliminated.
I haven't watched a single game.
I thought because I saw them play the Spurs, I'd be interested to see what would happen in the Spurs series, and I don't know.
My dad and I watched a little bit of the Spurs Thunder on Sunday night, and there was a blowout. So yeah.
But I'm with you. I think it's a little more interesting when the Knicks are there. It's in Madison Square Garden's a hallowed venue. It gets the NBA Finals, and haven't seen too much of that in our lives. All right, that's about it. Glad you got through this. Go take some IVs or something. And we're done. For those of you consuming the full show, Jim Olander, Ryan Crothers, the wonderful story, and the final chapter, really, since we talked about them last week, of the Sioux Falls Stampede Clark Cup champions. And we have a very special guest, very famous South Dakota sports special guest lined up for tomorrow. Don't want to jinx it, not going to say his name, but it's a big one. And so we hope it all connects and you'll get to enjoy it soon. Cheers. Why are you laughing?
That was a terrible outro.
You.
You guys need a round of drinks?
Yes.